Welcome to Coach Business, the podcast. I'm your host and coach, Caryn Gillen. And today we are talking about SEO with Laura Jawad. She is an SEO strategist, and I love how her brain works. So we had to make sure that we got to come together today. Laura, do you want to take a quick second and introduce yourself and how, in your words?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on here, Caryn. I've been really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm an SEO strategist primarily for female service providers, female small business owners who want to grow their audience, build their client rosters without relying on social media. So in a nutshell, I help female entrepreneurs get found on Google.
Beautiful. Awesome. And I just have to share a story. Um, that
Love stories.
I was down in Mexico with Laura and a bunch of other entrepreneurs, and she goes, "Do you know that you don't even have the words business coach on your homepage?" And I'm a business coach, right? This is Coach Business, the podcast. And I was like, look at that. SEO is important. That's a really obvious thing that I totally missed. So I always just appreciate the straightforwardness and clarity that you bring.
Thank you. And I think I told you that is the number one mistake I see on every website. People forget to say what they do. And so you're kind of like proof in the pudding right there.
Uh-huh.
People talk around it. And I
Yep.
think it's just that curse of knowledge just applied to our own property. We just assume it's there,
Right.
but it's not.
Right. Well, and we do all that work. Like as coaches, we're always talking about how do I help people versus trying to sell life coaching. So to come out and say, I'm a business coach, I'm not very used to. I'm very used to saying, like, oh, I help coaches do this. So it's a good reminder. So everyone listening, please go check out that you actually call yourself what you actually are on your homepage.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about as a start, like, why do we need a website? Why does a website need to exist here in the land of 2025 and beyond?
Oh my gosh. There's so many reasons, and I'm sure I won't even think of them all right now. But let's start with the fact that you own it. So it's the only place on the internet that is yours.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the only place on the internet where you get to control how people perceive you, how you present yourself. And, from the perspective of SEO, you're also controlling your reputation in search, right? There's a saying like you are who Google says you are. You
Oh
want the
dear.
first thing to come up in Google to be your website where you're controlling that definition.
Right.
Otherwise, you're leaving it up to other people and up to chance. So I think from the perspective of reputation management and protecting your IP and your business, you need a website. Even
Yeah.
if you have a robust social presence or referral network, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Because no one can come to you and say, we're locking you out of your account on your website. And no one can say, we're shutting down your website for the day or for an undescribed amount of time, like they can on social media.
Yeah. Unless you have a really, crappy web host or something, but that's
Right.
another story.
Or you
You know,
don't pay
in,
your web hosting bill, and then I
yeah.
suppose they can.
Yeah. But in
Yeah.
general, it's like your safe investment.
Yeah. It's your house. It's like your online house.
Mhm.
And I always
I
think
refer
about,
I refer to it as your digital home all the
yeah,
time.
I always think about writing too on social media. Like it's like writing into the garbage can
Hmm.
because it just, someone else's thing piles on top of it. And before you know it, no one can find what you wrote. And the thing I love about a website is, like I went to your website and I read a blog that you probably wrote 3 years ago, but that was super helpful to me last week. And it was as if it were fresh content, right?
Hmm.
I love that about a website. So tell me about like blogs and why they're amazing.
So blogs are essential for building what we'll call your topical authority, convincing Google that you're an expert or defining your expertise, and also for searchers who land on your website, a body of knowledge also um, exudes expertise, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're also providing an experience. So if someone comes to your website and lands on a blog, and you can send them on a journey or a binge down the rabbit hole through your other blogs, like you're keeping them in, you're creating an ecosystem, right? You're creating an ecosystem for people to explore, a way to keep them on your website and present them with more and more of your material. Um, and as an SEO, let's say my favorite reason is because every blog post that you create is another opportunity to get found. It's new keyword opportunities. Every blog post is like a backdoor into your website. If you've only got 5 pages on your website, you have a limited number of opportunities to get found.
Mm-hmm.
And related to that, Google doesn't see a 5-page website as authoritative. So even if your SEO is really strong on those 5 pages, you're probably not going to get a lot of traffic if you don't have a knowledge base of long form content on your website.
And what defines long form? Is any blog long form, or is it like it has to have at least 500 words?
No, when I say long form, I mean blog. There's
Okay.
no like there's no definition. Like you'll hear this from people like, oh, you need to write at least 500 words, but that's a completely fabricated number. Google's stance is there's no minimum length requirements. That said, people do all kinds of research on Google results, and top ranking results generally have between 1,000 and 1,500 words. And that's just because it's really hard to thoroughly answer something in 300 words,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what Google is looking for ultimately is that if someone searches for something, they're presented with your website, they go there. They want that website to conclude their search. They
Right.
want
Be the
they
one
want it
stop.
to answer their question. And so if they see that people are clicking from the search results to your website and then promptly clicking back because they haven't gotten all their information, that's going to affect the next search negatively. The next time someone types in that same query, your website will be ranked lower.
That's an interesting way to think about writing a blog post, is that filter question at the end of like, have I completely and thoroughly answered the question that this blog post is answering?
Yep, like thinking about the search intent. Why did someone come here? And are you taking care of that problem completely? And
Yeah.
so then it's less about length,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it just happens that to do that, you need a bunch of words, right? But it's not that you need to have a 4,000 word blog post in order to rank.
Right. But you do need to be answering a question, it sounds like, that the best
Yes.
thing to do with a blog post is answer a question someone has,
Yes.
which is what I did not used to do at all.
Yeah.
I would just write whatever came into my mind, which is why I also went through recently and deleted like 17 pages of blogs
Yeah.
on my
It's not a
website.
journal.
It's not a journal. Oh my God. Yes, it
Not a
was. It
journal.
really was.
Well, I think, in the early days of blogging, like there were so many lifestyle bloggers and
Mm-hmm.
people who developed a large audience just from their stream of consciousness because people were using blogs like people use Instagram now.
Right. Yeah.
But Google really, really cares about your topical authority. What are you an expert in? Google looks at every website and it tries to define what it calls its site focus, like what is this website about? And it evaluates every piece of content on the website to see how closely it relates back to that site focus.
Mm-hmm.
So if your website is about business coaching and you're writing blog posts about your feelings around rejection in
Mm-hmm.
your personal relationships, I don't know, that has nothing to do with business coaching. And so that's actually like a negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
It,
takes away from your topical authority, it dilutes it.
I was very deluded after, I've been in business for 15 years.
Hmm.
And for most of those years, I wrote a blog, newsletter, and published it. So I had to go delete most of those. And I'm excited actually to take this advice on and start thinking through. Well, and here's a tip for people who are like, I need to write a blog. What I'm doing is I'm going into Facebook groups I'm in where there's a bunch of my ideal client, and I'm looking at the questions that they're asking. And what I want to do is just go then write the blog post and then come back and post the link.
It's a great,
It's
great
my
strategy.
new strategy. I haven't done it yet, but I've had this plan.
Yeah. So when I teach topic ideation, I always encourage people to start in their own head. like thinking about what kind of questions do you imagine your potential clients are typing into the search bar in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning, right? What are your current clients asking you? Are there other pieces of content you're constantly referring people to that aren't your own? Starting in your own head first, but then like the second tier of research is voice of customer research. It's going into Facebook groups, it's looking at forums, right? Going to other places where your customer or your audience is hanging out and looking at how they're asking for help and what they're asking for help in and creating content around that. And if it's a
Mhm.
group that allows you to post links and to post your own resources, absolutely. Like send traffic back to your website.
Mhm.
The more traffic your website gets, the more traffic Google will send to it. So actually, like another thing that I teach people in talking about blog strategy is like you have to have a distribution plan. It's not just having a strategy for your blog. It's not just writing a great blog post. You also have to put it out in front of people because you have to get that like initial traffic to drive more traffic.
Right. So you have to be the PR agency for every little blog post you write.
Yeah. It's cool being a small business owner, right? Like all these hats we get to wear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So many hats.
Yeah.
So tell me about the difference because I've had clients ask about this. Like, why would I do a blog instead of a Substack or maybe write on Medium? What's the difference between doing something like that?
Because you don't own Substack and you don't own Medium.
Hmm. And so the SEO then goes for if you write great articles on Substack, that improves Substack's Google ability and
Yeah.
business versus your own.
I mean, it to some extent, well, Substack, I think, is its own kind of problematic just because a lot of times that's behind a paywall.
Yeah,
And I'll also tell you, I've never searched for something and had a Substack come up as the answer. So I
me
don't
either. Good
think
point.
that it's like super findable, even if you don't have it paywalled.
Uh-huh.
With Medium, their SEO is great, and those articles will often surface, but you're not sending people back to your own home. So it's not
Hmm.
helping your SEO. And again, if our goal is to be like the first result when someone Googles like your name, your
Hmm.
brand, hopefully the thing that you offer, then you need to be sending people back to your website. Now, Medium, it's not completely useless to post to those things because it does, Google keeps track of authors
Hmm.
and you can develop kind of like an author cred over time. Right. And so if you're writing on Medium and you're developing a reputation there, that does give work that you create on your own website a little bit of a boost, but
Hmm.
it's not the same as just writing the content on your
Right.
website.
Yeah. So if someone's like really interested in potentially publishing a book someday or like being an author, that would be a better strategy versus
Or
somebody like
maybe
myself.
like a dual strategy. I mean, a really good use
Hmm.
of Medium as well is if you do have these things that you want to talk about that aren't directly related to your business,
Oh, right.
and you don't want to dilute your topical authority on your website, go put it
Then
on
go play
Medium.
over there. That's such a
Yeah, if
great
if it's
idea.
still something that's like valuable that other people are going to be interested in, go publish it on Medium.
I love
But
that.
for stuff that is like directly relevant to your business, I put it all on my website.
Perfect. Okay.
I'm super selfish with my content.
I love that about you. And
Thank
your
you.
website's great. Like if you have a question about SEO at all, you just go straight to Laura's website. That's the
And that's
answer.
my goal, right? And
Yeah.
that's like what I
And it's
hope
working.
most of like, if you want good search presence, like that's what I hope you're trying to become is like a resource that people can just visit when they have a question about the thing that you do.
I love that. Okay. So let's assume everyone's convinced that they need to do SEO and then they should start a blog and put it
Mhm.
in their website. At that point, I imagine they're like, oh my God, SEO is tech. I don't know what I'm doing. So I kind of just want either to tell us like what do we not need to worry or care about, or what are like the most basic things we should pay attention to and like forget about everything else.
Okay. So I'm going to start this by saying there's four pillars of SEO.
Okay.
Okay. There's tech. And that's the stuff that like makes everyone's eyes roll into the back of their head when they think
Correct.
about SEO. Okay,
Yeah.
but then there is user experience, user engagement signals. Google's watching to see how people behave in your website. And this goes back to what we were talking about with concluding the search journey, right? Google's looking to see how long people spend on your website, how far they're scrolling, where they're hovering, are they clicking? Is it an engaging experience?
Mm-hmm.
Google's also considering your brand reputation. So this encompasses backlinks, which are links from other websites back to your website, but it's not just backlinks. It's also looking at the relevance of those links. It's looking at your online reviews. It's looking at your presence on social media, right? It's a broad
Yeah.
footprint. And then finally, there is keywords and content, the words on the page and how you use them. And then, that content, your knowledge base. And when you consider these 4 pillars, the tech doesn't matter if your website isn't a destination worth surfacing in search.
Right.
If there's no content there, if the right words aren't on the page, you can have like the fastest, snappiest, most optimized, technically optimized website.
Mm-hmm.
It won't matter because there's nothing for people to do once they get there. And
Right.
so you could start with tech, right? Or you can
That'd be
start with
like
the
starting with a
things.
car with no engine.
Yeah,
Like, what good is a car with no engine?
right. So like instead, like start with the stuff that you can do. The
Mm-hmm.
average business owner can create content. The
Yeah.
average business owner can go pitch a podcast or make sure they're listed in any directories they're eligible for or manage their review platforms, right? So start with the stuff that you have control over. And then with respect to tech, the big things are making sure that your website is mobile responsive so that it looks good on a cell phone. And most modern website builders bake that in pretty well, but it's worth checking. You want to make sure your website loads quickly. And there's different ways to test that. One is just in your own hands. Does it load quickly? But really the bigger question is, does it load quickly for people who are on like a crappy connection? So you can use tools. Google has a tool called PageSpeed Insights that you can Google, and it will tell you how fast your website loads. The largest contentful paint is the metric you want to look at. And like ideally, it's under 3 seconds. Most of the time when that is much higher than that, it's because people's pictures are too big. Caryn.
Mm-hmm. Even though I use Photo Smoosh.
Yeah, you've got a couple images on your homepage that are in megabyte land. So
She's calling me out again.
because
Okay.
I creeped you before we got on this.
Good. Good. Thank you for being creepy.
Um, okay, so the biggest ball and chain on most websites I look at from the tech perspective is the size of people's images.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is something that the average tech owner can take care of.
Yeah.
You just have to compress your images. And
I will do this.
I could go through it here, but it's a little bit much, I think, for like a quick overview on a podcast. So instead, I'll tell you to go and Google Laura Jawad, how to optimize images for SEO.
Do it.
And you will find a blog post in which I tell you how to do it. And it is not hard. I promise you it's within your ability. Those are going to be the things that's the first place to look. And you might find with tech that like there is something that requires hiring a developer or hiring an SEO expert to like tweak something. But I would start with all these things that are within your control first.
Definitely.
Yeah. Right? Your content, your PR, your image sizes, and then the rest of that stuff, it's like the pointy end of the stick, right?
Right. You can get away. And I mean, what I always think about is like, you can make so much money with a crappy website if you're doing a few things right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly. I might be an example of this.
Your website's not crappy.
Okay, good.
I just look at websites through a very, very specific lens.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm looking at your website, which loads a little slow,
Mm-hmm. It does.
and then I look at the size of the images on your homepage, and I see that they are a little large, the first thing I would tell you to do is go compress those images
All right.
and see what it looks like then.
All right. So y'all can go to my website and it'll be so fast because by the time this podcast goes live, I will have compressed those images.
But you should go to the website anyway because Caryn has a new website and it's beautiful.
It's true. It's up to date. You can
It's
actually
really
find out
pretty.
what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Thank you. Okay. So you also have a freebie that you're going to share with us that I want you to tell us about because I myself picked it up probably a couple of months ago and then saved it in your follow-up emails and I used everything last weekend when I redid my website. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to offer you guys, it's called the SEO Kickstart Kits, and it's a collection of 5 step-by-step checklists that are going to help you set up the pages of your website to attract right fit clients or traffic on autopilot. And back to our conversation about like techie versus non-techie, it's 5 checklists, starting from one that is extremely foundational, going through one that's slightly more techie. There's one to help you with your blogs, one to help you with your local SEO. And there's a 5th one.
Yeah, that's good too, but I can't
That's good
remember.
too.
No, they were
So
super
really, it will
helpful.
meet you wherever you're at. If you're
Yeah.
not techie, this is going to help you out. If you're a little more technically inclined, there's something in there for you as well. And you can find this at laurajawadmarketing.com/coach dash business.
And we will link it in the show notes too. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It was super helpful last weekend. And
Yeah. I was
also
really, really happy to
usable.
hear that you were actually able to take advantage of it and um, do some good work with it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always great feedback.
Yeah. Right. It's so much fun when our freebies actually do what like we put so much heart and soul into them to like, you're like, people, if people would just do this, it would
Yeah.
be so great. And then
Yeah. And you
sometimes
put them
people
out
do.
into the world and you so rarely get feedback on them. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that we should cover that we didn't cover?
just get started.
I
So
love
I
that.
think SEO can be a very overwhelming subject. And even though I love this stuff, I absolutely get it. But it compounds over time, right? And so even a small investment right now will pay off later. You know, the larger the investment, maybe the quicker the payoff. But even if you're just tweaking the keywords on your homepage, or if you're creating one new piece of content and then you're coming back to it again in a month, whatever that first small step is, just take it
Mhm.
because it will start compounding for you.
Yeah. I love it. Invest, make those investments as you go.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you being here and for being an expert on something I don't want to be an expert in, but we need in order to have an impact on our business. I always appreciate expertise so much. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Caryn. Again, just really glad we were able to finally get together for this conversation.
Yes. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, Laura, for being here and talking SEO with us. The reason I wanted to bring Laura on and to highlight SEO is because if you have an online presence for your business, you are doing a lot of work and creating a lot of content just to be here, just to be a coach with a business. You might as well be using some of that content to also get found and be Googleable. So, for example, what we didn't say on there is if you write a great post on Instagram, you can always move that over to your blog, turn it more into a blog format, but use the content that you're already writing to make blogs happen. You don't have to reinvent the wheel everywhere you go. But as Laura showed us, it is helpful to be more than one place, right? It's helpful to have social that boosts your SEO. It's helpful to have a blog that boosts your SEO. So if you're going to do this and you want to be found, make sure that you have a website and that your website has a blog and that you are answering questions with your blog posts that your clients have. And then finding places to share those blogs. All right. I hope this was some inspiration for you today and that it feels doable because I know it is. I know you can do this. Even way back in, I don't know what year it was, 25 years ago, 15 years ago. I was blogging back then. It was a strategy that worked then and it still works now. So no matter what happens with the social media climate, blogging still exists and it always has. All right. Take good care. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend who needs a little SEO inspo. All right. Have a great day.